This is the What's Next podcast, Houston's #1 platform where I invite creatives to share their journeys and give us a depiction of their visions. Most importantly, the last question I'll ask is, what's next? Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Dear John, the iconic legend Quincy Jones said, "To know where you came from makes it easier for you to get where you're going." Sean Diddy Combs said, "Everyone has challenges and lessons to learn. We wouldn't be who we are without them." If 2018 and the last 6 years taught you something, it's that anything is attainable with the right focus and determination. Continue to build. Continue to promote your vision. Continue to inspire creativity and make more creatives. In closing, Nas said, "No idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun. It's never what you do, but how it's done. The first chapter of your vision's movements is done. However, you're still a visionary. Peace and blessings. John Ross."
Yo, it feel like 95, Sachi on my body, Biggie, Jigga, Puffy, all that ballin' is a hobby, and I'm wildin' in my wallet.
Houston, Texas, we are back for another edition of the What's Next podcast, a production of Still Visionary Inc. This is episode number 35, and today is October the 18th, 2019. Welcome back to the White Room. We're here live in the Pentagon in the White Room. Shout out to my man Tali for letting us use his spot again. With us, we have a very, very special guest. So, Julie, what I want to do on the podcast is I want to allow you to introduce your social media handles, and then I'll introduce mine.
Okay, well, hi, everyone. I'm Julie. I am Julie P. White Photography on Instagram. If you're not already following me, then you should be following me. I am newly moved to Houston, Texas, and just been networking.
Okay.
And that's it. So I do photography, and I do a whole lot of other things, and then I will talk about.
Okay. Do you have a website?
I do not at the moment. It's something that's in the works.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, a lot of it is through Instagram, and I have a template. It's not a template, but it's a pixie art. So it's where you can visualize the pictures.
Okay.
But at this point, it's really just word of mouth.
Okay. And my name is John Ross Dike II, and you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at John Ross Dike and still _visionary. If you would, connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my fan page on Facebook, and visit my website at stillvisionary.com. Welcome to the episode. I want to start out with that.
Thank you.
The power of networking, I'm finding more and more each day that is a very, very powerful thing. Got to get out here and network, and if not for the power of networking and being in the White Room before, I would have never met you. So I want to say welcome to the What's Next podcast, and thank you for coming on.
Well, it's my pleasure. I mean, Thank you for contacting
No doubt,
me.
no
and,
doubt, no
and
doubt.
Yes, definitely. Thanks to the Pentagon for having us here.
No doubt. So listen, I believe that creativity comes from experiences, right? You're not originally from here. You said you're new to Texas. Can you tell us where you're from?
I lived here before we left. We came back. My husband's originally from here.
Okay.
But I am French Canadian. I'm from Montreal.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm originally from.
And ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to put Julie on the spot, but
So that means he's gonna put me on the spot, right?
say something in French for us.
Okay, mais qu'est-ce que tu veux que je te dise?
Okay, what does that mean?
What do you want me to say?
Okay, the reason why I say that is because we were doing tongue twisters in the warm up, and she was doing a tongue twister in French, and I just wanted her to speak some French.
I
for
don't
us.
know one in English.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, so I guess I got to do a tongue twister, right? So
Yeah.
like that's the only one I knew.
Say it again.
No.
Okay, so creativity comes from experiences. Julie P. White Photography. What is it that you do with photography?
Well, this is a new outlet for me,
Okay.
actually. So the inspirations came from somewhere else. I actually kind of fell on photography by accident.
Okay. Talk about it. Talk about it. Listen, we got all the time in the world. Talk about that accident. Talk about how you fell into it.
I mean, I've always been an artist at heart. But then, life happens and then you just got to work and pay your bills. And a lot of my work has never been artistic.
Mm-hmm.
So as an outlet, I would paint. But when I do my paintings, which I don't do enough of them to be,
An artist, to consider a painter.
well, I'm my own painter,
Oh,
but
no doubt.
I'm not like professionally doing it or
Okay,
nothing.
okay.
It was just an outlet. You know how you'd be working full time and you need an outlet, right?
Mm-hmm,
So I'd be painting, but when I want to complete a painting, it could take me 6 months, and they're never really complete.
Yeah.
And then I give up. Not give up. It's the bad word, but like I wouldn't. The inspiration is gone by the time I even get close to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day, we just moved back from LA. We lived in LA for 5 years.
Okay.
And LA has such, it's full of artists all over the place. It is so inspiring, but the train of life is so busy. So I didn't really have time to explore my creativity. But one day we were taking a walk, my husband and I, and it was in an area where it's very artistic and very inspiring. And I think there was an art gallery that night. Like it was like they closed the street and they had like a bunch of artsy people. And I just felt like in my element. And that day I told my husband, I said, if I had a decent camera, not my phone that I had at the time, which was an iPhone 4. So like, so I was like, I just kind of want to have a decent enough camera to where I could take some pictures so I could print them to paint them so my inspiration wouldn't go away. So, I could
So you always have a vision
do the
of it.
portrait. Right. Because sometimes like my portrait would kind of like, I didn't have like time to really so I would basically take the picture of the vision and paint it. So that was in September. I don't know what year. What was it?
Yeah.
2017, I think. Anyway, he then Christmas came up. So, well, guess what? My husband found out what to get me for Christmas.
No doubt. That's a nice.
So I got a camera for the first time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know nothing about it.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you mentioned LA. I did 4 episodes of my podcast out there over the course period of a weekend, Labor Day weekend this year.
Oh, really?
Talk to us go in depth about your experience in LA. Why move to LA initially?
Well, my husband's a musician.
Okay.
He's a producer.
Okay.
And so that basically was the main reason. There was a project that he was called upon producing.
Okay.
And so we went there for that in 2015. 15-ish, yeah. So he was working along, major labels, major artists, and I just followed him and got a job. And actually, not a job. I'm self-employed, but I got appointed with a company. I sell life insurance.
Okay.
So that's what I do on my day-to-day.
Okay.
And so I got appointed with a company, and that was just the day-to-day, and but what brought us to LA was him. So what about my experience in LA? It's a really busy city.
Yeah.
I wish I had time to experience it.
Yeah.
I was just so busy in the work and the activity and the weekend with him that really I didn't do any of the tourist stuff, which I think I'm gonna go and travel and do it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when I went to LA, I really can't even consider it going to LA because
Right.
I was there. I got there in the evening time.
In and out, right?
And the next day I had to get up and do the podcast. So when I was asked how was LA, I said all it was work.
Well, the way you just described your weekend was 5 years living there. So if you can find time to take a walk, which we did that weekend,
Yeah.
that walk, that weekend, those times that we did were very inspiring.
Yeah. So when you moved to Houston from living in LA, well, you moved from Houston to LA and then back to Houston.
Right.
Did you notice a change?
Definitely.
Okay.
It's much laid back.
Okay, for sure.
And we're very happy to be back.
Yeah.
It's a slower pace, so it gives me time to really take a second look at what I want to do, which is why right now, my photography, it's like on full speed because I have time for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, one thing what I do is the episode that I had 3 on, 3 said that you do your investigating. So I noticed that I was getting frequent likes from your page, right? And so I went and I hit the follow button on my company page, and I need to hit the follow button on my personal page as well. But I noticed that what you do with your Instagram, I've tried to do with whatever I post, my What's Next podcast logo. And in lieu of the episode, I like to post a logo and just give a description of the podcast and say, hey, go watch the podcast here, such and such. But I noticed that you put shots in you make like big collages.
Oh, that's new. I was just
your,
playing this
okay.
week, and like I got a few new followers, and I've been really, really active and being really, really social, because what I found out recently, which I should have found out a while ago, is that Instagram is for socializing. And so I've been social on Instagram, and I realized that to bring a discussion. So what brings a discussion, right? So I said, well, if I give like part of a picture, which I've seen, these, they're called grids. And so, okay, so what is this? Oh, well, take a look at my whole profile page. You'll get to see the big picture, which is kind of, so that's the idea behind it. But I just started doing it. So not everybody's going to see the profile to see it. But if you look at most of the posts that you post, sometimes people just look at that one thing and they move on because it moves so fast. There's so many posts, there's so many people.
Facts.
But if you give them an opportunity to wanting to look at your actual page, so to kind of bring them to see everything else. So that was kind of the point of that. And because it makes a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And so it's like amazing. You can see more of the details. Otherwise they're small.
Yeah. You get basically you get one shot, and then that one shot, and then you get another shot that has nothing to do with the past shot. But with your Instagram, you have
it's sick. Well, if you look at the whole page, they're only individual shots.
Yeah.
So it's been only 2 pictures
Okay.
that I did a grid of 6 blocks.
Okay.
So actually, we're in the middle of one. I only
Yeah.
have 4 blocks on, so I need to put the other 2. I was putting them earlier fast, and then I put them backwards. So I deleted them. I'm gonna go ahead and put them the other way. Whoopsie.
So with you doing your IG like that, do you think that you'll ever not do it like that, or do you think you'll just post random pictures that you put, or you always tell a bigger story when you do that on your IG?
I don't always post random pictures. Sometimes, because sometimes you're just like, what am I gonna post? But I actually plan ahead, about a week ahead at least, because sometimes my shoots, like let's say my next shoot, then I'm gonna plan to post the pictures about the shoot, and it kind of has to do with what socially, like what have I done this week. So okay, like right now, like today, like I'm a guest at your podcast, right?
No doubt.
So maybe later on I take some pictures of you. Well,
for sure.
it's in context.
For sure.
So that's kind of, so that's so they're not that random.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I want to take the time to highlight that I've done this podcast since January 1st, 2019. Prior to that, I did a podcast, and I really didn't have the feel. I did the podcast, and initially it was about getting a project out. Okay. Because as a production company and somebody who wanted to start their own production company, I felt that we were only as good as our next project, right? With this podcast, this is the first time creatively that I have a photographer on there. So you kind of
That's awesome.
So you're the first photographer that I've had on my podcast.
What do you usually interview?
Well,
I've looked at
sometimes. I mean, 3 somebody who's an MC who started their own production company. I've had a plethora of artists, but 3 was the first MC that started their own company. I had a mixologist on here. I've had a lot of actors and poets and painters and writers on here.
It's a full spectrum.
No doubt. But you're the first. You're the first photographer. So I want to take a time. I want to take a second to acknowledge that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate. I, like you said, I'm only as good as my next project, right?
Yeah. That's what I felt now. That's what I felt then. Now I just feel like there was no consistency with the old one. So now this one, I'm trying my damnedest to be consistent.
It's gonna be the best project. You just, be social.
No doubt, no doubt. So you have the camera in your hands. When you're shooting pictures of, I think you said on your IG, when you're shooting pictures.
Baby.
Yeah. When you're shooting pictures on your IG, what are you looking to capture?
I initially didn't know. So, of course, I was like, just experience photography. And my best model is my husband. So I don't want to talk about him because this is about this project. But
actually,
he's a big part
no.
I
I want to clarify that. Your husband, like my wife and the other creators that have come on here that had significant others that play roles and have titles like husband and wife, are major factors.
He's a major factor in my entire life, right?
Yeah.
And
as he should be.
Right. And in this inspiration. And so because I'm always with him, I mean not always, but we're a lot together. He's always been a big inspiration and I love art. So obviously I love music. I've been married to the music industry for 14 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
So he's the producer. He's always making music. He's playing guitar. He's playing bass. I mean, he does a whole lot of stuff. And so my first inspiration and how am I going to practice? He's my best model. Mm-hmm. So I'm always shooting him. So either he's playing a live show or he's, dabbling. What do you call that? Stringing, whatever he's doing. Yeah. And then when we go on weekends, or then also he needed pictures for his stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, why don't I take them? And so we played around with that a lot in LA. And then with him, I got to go in, shows. I got to shoot pictures of Pharrell. I got to shoot pictures of different groups. He was co-producing with a group called Watch the Duck. So I also got pictures of them. My husband is D. Oscar White, if you're looking for it on Instagram. I should at least say his name, right?
No doubt, for sure.
Say his name.
Go ahead.
And so when we took our walks in LA, so that's how I started. So you asked me to actually answer the question you asked was, so what do I shoot? What do I look for? So now that I've experienced with him, I always follow him. So throughout his journey, but now I'm trying to venture out to really, I did some models in LA too. I did like some little shoots like that. I had a rap artist contacting me from New Orleans, and he moved to LA now. His name is on Instagram @BIsTheFuture. Okay. There was also Bungie the Youngin. I want to say it right. Bungie the Youngin. He's from San Diego.
Okay.
So he drove from San Diego to LA to do a photo shoot with me.
No doubt.
Honestly, that photo shoot was my first biggest photo shoot.
No doubt.
The other ones were smaller, but this was my first biggest photo shoot that I feel like I nailed it, and he was really happy with it. I was very happy with it. He's such a nice person too, and he came with his wife, and we had just like such a great time. Yeah. And so those were my experiences in LA. And then this year, we made a big move. We decided to come back here, and I don't know. We may go back to LA, but at this point, I think that there's a niche in Houston. There's a tons of musicians. There's a lot of little bars. They play live music, and this was the first. Like I went to shoot like little rock bands that are playing live, and that was just kind of for fun. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because the guitar is like such a nice instrument, and I like to shoot instruments, and musicians in general inspire me, but not just like musician singers, like everything with the music industry, because I feel like I'm in the right place, the right environment to shoot that. I'm definitely not like the wedding photographer or nothing against that, but that's just not, it's not what I want to do.
Okay. So, So as a photographer and as a musician photographer, if I could classify
Yes,
it,
please do.
as a musician photographer, who are your top, let's say, 5 musician photographers that you follow on Instagram?
I don't remember their IG names, but I do follow a few. Actually, there's one photographer that I really, really like on my Instagram,
let me ask
and
you a
he's
question.
not a musician photographer.
Okay, what's his name?
It's a street photographer, and
Okay.
all in black and white from Atlanta. It's 88 shots.
Okay.
I adore his pictures. It's
Okay.
a different style, but the inspiration can come from anywhere, really.
Yeah.
But what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say if you follow my man Greg Noir on there.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. See, I couldn't remember the
That's
name.
that's my
he's
dog.
Actually, Bet. Bet is like, yeah. Now I'm sorry. I got like nervous and I was like, oh shoot, I need to remember all the Instagram's name. Bet is my girl. She don't know me, but I know her.
Yeah. Greg Noir is my dog.
Yeah.
He's
Do you
my
know him
dog.
personally?
Personally,
Oh my
I was in his
God.
wedding. I was in his wedding.
I would love to meet him.
Yeah.
He is so awesome.
Yeah.
Bet gets in places like, I'm like, how did she get there?
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm such a rookie in that game, but this is what I want to do. Like right now, I'm not always in the position to shoot right on stage. The drummer's always in the back. Like I want to jump on the stage and shoot the proper picture like they do.
Yeah. No doubt. He
They
gets
got
some
passes and stuff.
he got some shots, man, that just like, man, you're just like, how you get that close.
Right.
And he's really dope. He's been doing it for a while, but I wanted to ask you and see if you knew his work.
Yes. Oh my God, do I know his work?
Yo, G, man, you got a fan here, baby. So why do you use the Canon?
But this was the gift.
Okay.
This was the Christmas gift. So
Okay.
at this point, here's the thing. At this point, it's been a hobby.
Okay.
I learned how it works, right?
No doubt.
It's been less than 2 years.
Okay.
So it's not that long.
Uh-huh.
So you talked about experience before.
Yeah.
Well, I think that my experience came fast, but it's there. So it's just been less than a couple of months. I mean, I did some shoots, professional and paid shoots in LA, but it was just like random.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, and they approached me, and I said, yeah, sure, But right now, I'm actually wanting to, improve it, push it to another level. And so at this point, I'm taking a step back and a step forward at the same time. So I'm going to push my other business so I can get enough investment to invest in better equipment.
Oh, okay.
So my Canon is just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But there is maybe a next level of Canon that I would like.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them shoot with Nikon or they shoot with
Sony.
Fuji, Sony, and they're all great. I'm used to use my Canon. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
I was gonna say because I thought I was like, man, when I looked at your Instagram page and some of the shots that you have, there was one shot I think that I saw, and it looked like it was of an aux cord. And then when you posted the next picture, I was like, okay, now it makes sense. It was a DJ. He was kind of
That's it. So I'm missing the head right now, which I posted backwards earlier. So I'm gonna go put the head later on this evening.
No doubt.
But
no doubt.
yeah, it's that picture.
And so when I saw that, I was like, what kind of camera is she using?
It's this one. It's this
No
right
doubt,
here.
no doubt.
It's the Canon Rebel T5 with a 50 millimeter lens. But it's all about the lens too.
Okay.
So
Talk
I don't
about
have
it.
the
Talk
I don't
about
have
it.
the most professional body.
Okay.
I don't have the most professional lenses either.
Mm-hmm.
But this is about like as basic as you want to get started with. Now I could add, like there's a lens that I absolutely want right now.
Yeah.
Just a lens is $2,000.
Yeah.
It would fit on that body,
Yeah.
but it would fit on a better body as well.
Yeah.
But I could start with this body.
Yeah.
The lens will make a difference,
No doubt.
not just the camera.
No doubt.
And this person here makes the difference too.
No, for sure. I would say. I would say for sure. I mean, because it's your eye that's capturing what you want to shoot.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the knees really take the pain for it.
Yeah.
Because it's how you position yourself.
No doubt. So talk to me about taking the perfect shot. Before we do that,
I don't even know what that, because there's nothing perfect.
okay.
That doesn't exist.
Before we do that, What song's on your mind?
I was waiting for you to ask that. Ooh.
Out for the sec, because I thought you said
If
you wasn't.
I rule the world.
Oh, damn. You not finna come in here with no Nas record.
I had to.
Oh, shit. You not finna
I can't
come in.
sing, but
you
you got the
come in here
point,
with
right?
a Nas record. Okay, you gonna go with Nas If I Rule the World. Oh, damn.
I think that's appropriate, right? Shouldn't we rule the world?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I think we should.
I'm so glad you ain't tell me that early in
I know.
pre-production.
I purposely watched your previous episodes.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, shit. Let me go with a Nas record myself.
But I'm not, no lie though. I'm a fan of a lot of other people, but when I watched that and I saw like, yeah, Nas was playing a lot. Like I'm a '90s baby. I mean, I'm an '80s baby, but the generation of music of the '90s, and definitely love Nas. He's definitely a great lyricist,
No doubt,
of all times.
Oh yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh
And
yeah.
Now, don't kill me for it. I was a big Pac fan.
No doubt.
But
No doubt. Okay.
you know, they're all there. The Roots. Tribe Called Quest.
No doubt.
Like,
I was listening to a Nas CD, and I'm gonna go with the record "Purple" off the Lost Tapes. That's what's on my mind right now.
you have to take me back there. It's
Yeah.
been a while. Honestly, I had to pull it out, and I was like, that's the only song that I can think of right now.
Yeah. Oh, all good. I mean, that's perfect. I'm gonna go with Nas "Purple" off the Lost Tapes record. I think it's track number 8 off Lost Tapes.
All right.
Okay. So, you were talking about. You said nothing was perfect with a shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about setting up to take a shot. You're gonna take a shoot. You're gonna do a shoot like the guy that drove from San Diego. What was he asking for, and what did you add to his idea of what kind of shoot he wanted?
Okay, and then to get back to the beginning of the question, like, you always hear like, oh, to get a perfect shot, there's the lines, there's the techniques, and there's certain things, and that's one thing. Like, I perhaps don't have the perfect technique. I'm still working on that because that's the technical. What I am is an artist.
Okay.
Because you have two kinds of people, or it could be both. But like some people, let's say, will start photography by knowing the technique, and it's a technique.
The technique of what?
It's the technique of taking a picture.
Okay.
It's very technical.
Okay.
And actually, just learning all of this, those aspects, what do you call that? All the perspective. I mean, it's technical. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of technical stuff, which I did, but I'm more like, okay, I'm just going to go with how I feel. And so some people will prepare. What I'm trying to say is that some people will prepare for a photo really like calculating. I try, but I really focus on how it feels. That's more the angle that I look at it with. So like with Bungie, when we met, it was through Instagram. Okay. And he contacted me. Obviously, he liked some of the stuff that I've posted, and he had an album that was coming out, and he said, I want to do a shoot, and I want to use one of the pictures to do sort of a kind of like a cartoon version of him for his album cover, and he wanted other pictures, and so that one cartoon picture that he has is based on one of the pictures I took. And so he came to LA, and then we talked about, actually for like maybe a couple of weeks, we planned that shoot, like what outfit he was gonna wear, what background. I drove around the art district before he came, kind of find which backgrounds we're gonna use, which side of the street based on the sunlight, on like what time he's gonna come. So those are the technical aspects that I would look at, because you want to have the right light and all that stuff. And so we planned some of the stuff, and then when he came, of course things don't always go according to plans. It was a gray day, it wasn't a sunny day, which is perfect actually, because it wasn't too much sun on him. And so we kind of walked around, and I had a bunch of different places, but he picked the few that he liked best. Some of them went better with the outfits too. And then we just went how it feels, and we had some music on, and we were just shooting.
Okay. Do you know what the golden hour is?
Yeah,
What
definitely.
explain the golden hour
So
to me.
this is kind of when I say the light. That's exactly that. So we do want to shoot in the golden hour. So you have it in the morning or you have it in the evening. So right before the sunset or right at sunrise.
Okay.
And why is that better? Because you don't want so that like the noon, the light at noon is it's too direct. You want a little bit of a diffused light. So you want to have certain shadows at a certain place. So sometimes, but I've shot in the middle of the day too, because that's just what happened and you just deal with it. But the light is more harsh. Okay. So the golden hour is what you want if you want to shoot outside. So you have a more smooth light. There's the blue light that's great too, but for portraits and stuff that could be a bit dark depending on what you're looking for. Like there's some of my shots that are definitely blue light, and one of them is great. Is this girl Crystal? She's what is her Instagram? Yellow. Wait a minute. Oh, I forgot. I'm gonna get it to you. Color me yellow. Color me yellow. And then
Let me look that up while you talk. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry, because it's like it has like some underscores and things in there. But her name is Crystal, and she's a friend of mine. And we went to shoot in Silver Lake, which is a nice area of LA to shoot. And we were on Sunset Boulevard, and there was these big palm trees, and then the blue light. We had the blue light right there, and it's just like I shot towards the sky, and she's kind of like looking strong because I shot from the bottom. When you shoot from the bottom, it makes the subject look strong, which some people don't like that, but I love that strong look. And if someone doesn't want to look strong, well, too bad, because that's my style.
You know, you know who said that exact same thing you did when you shoot from the bottom, you look strong?
Right.
Spike Lee said that on his master class.
I like Spike Lee.
Yeah, he said that on his master class on Facebook. I thought that was a key nugget to write down.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the way I shoot most of my shots.
Okay.
Because you don't always, which is why I wouldn't do wedding shoots, because, you don't want the bride to look this, it's a softer look, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it depends. Hey, if you want to do a wedding that looks strong like that, let's do it. But But I like that kind of shoot, or from the top, like from different angles, or like a zoom in, like I don't know if you ever like the Busta Rhymes videos, like when they would kind of like
hoo-ha, yeah.
So the face would be all big.
No doubt.
So I like to shoot pictures that look like that.
Okay.
So definitely, when it comes to technically, a lot of that is wrong. But I like to go wrong. Yeah. I'm a bit of a delinquent.
Yeah. Yo, oh man. Hey, Houston, Texas, I want you to know that we're in the White Room at the Pentagon, man. It's so I think that networking, like I said initially in the episode, is very key, because had I not reached out to you, and asked you, was like, yo, I need you on the podcast. Had I not reached out to you, I wouldn't have learned the bit of information that I've learned from you today.
Well, I'm learning from you, So this is all a setup that you got here. And someday maybe I need to pair up with someone that does, some videos, some podcasts. Maybe some of the artists that I work with want to have a podcast going.
For sure,
so,
for sure.
It's definitely a good contact to have.
I've never heard a podcast, and maybe I need to look a little closer, but I've never heard a podcast on photography. So, maybe I'll look a little bit more before I speak.
I haven't looked at it. Yeah. Podcast. What do you mean?
Like just basically the ins and outs. But I feel like I got a master course lesson from you today.
Oh, I mean, there's not podcasts, but there's like tutorials all over YouTube.
No doubt, for sure.
But
for sure.
I'm not there yet. I'm not doing no tutorial yet, but. No doubt. I don't know. I just have my vibe, and I think that the people who want to work with me, they either like it, or if they don't, well, then you don't have to work with me. So
I'll bring you here. Today is October the 18th, 2019, and we have 74 days left in the 2019 year.
Why do I not like that? Everybody is asking me that lately.
What do you hope to attain in 74 days?
It's really, I need 48-hour days to accomplish everything I want to accomplish at the end of the year. And I've been there lately, so I am working a lot. Like I mentioned earlier, I do sell life insurance, so I'm working a lot of hours towards that. I'm working a lot of hours on tutorials and things because I got myself some new equipment, lights and things, and so like I'm doing some still outside shoots with some lights. And what I want to develop a little bit is because I really want to do artist promos, so not only live shows but actual promos like I did for Bungie and like I did for B is the Future. Actually, he used it for his album cover on Spotify, and both of them did. So I mean, it's pretty cool. So I want to do that for the local artists here too.
Yeah.
So I want to build that up a little bit, and I want to work on my website. You asked me earlier if I have a website, and I'm like, no, I'm an idiot. I don't have a website, but I mean, I'm just developing it. So yeah. So far, Instagram has been really kind of like my website, sort of.
Your Instagram is popping. I want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Your Instagram is for sure lit. So I'm looking here at your Instagram, right? And I hope you don't mind me going here with this conversation.
No, go ahead.
But you said something here that I really wanted to highlight. And you said, give me a second. I want to just make sure I highlight it.
You want to ask me? I can point you to it.
You said, okay, well, you said it's something about it being a hobby and it becoming professional. Yeah. Talk to us about what that means, it becoming professional from a hobby.
Well, I'm in the process of doing that, if I can say. Well, because it's a transition. Why is it a transition? Because even though I got hired before, it's like at first, so I've been working full-time. I'm still working full-time in my other career, which I'm self-employed. So it's like I got two businesses, right? So when you start a business, and I've started a business before, which I sold, it was a catering business. So I know, the process. You have to do a business plan. You want to put some money behind it. You want to put a right plan so it doesn't fail. So why I haven't really started my photography business is because, well, first of all, I haven't had the time to really lay out, my market study, like all the boring stuff that you have to do when you start an actual business. So at this point, it started because it just starts itself because of the networking and because of the Instagram. And so, yes, so I take weekend gigs at this point. So at this point, it's a very startup of the business. But for me, when you run a business, like at some point, it needs to be bigger than that. So what I'm working is on the behind the scene is really developing the business aspects. And I can't really give you that many details because I'm not there yet. Yeah. But I'm there at a certain part. Because the thing is, if I go too fast, then you just skip steps, right? Mm-hmm. So what's the difference between being like, just doing it as a hobby and doing it as a business? Well, I want to have like more. The equipment is one. So that's why you asked me what I want to do till the end of the year. I'm actually not going to spend that much time with this because I'm going to spend time making money so that I can grow this in 2020.
No doubt.
So that's definitely like the goal for the end of the year is to gear in to build this business in 2020. So meanwhile, I'm going to network. And meanwhile, I have a couple of shoots planned, one this weekend and one in November. And a new artist, B Val, here in Houston. So shout out to B Val because he's going to give me an opportunity to do a photo shoot with him in November. So that's awesome. He's on Instagram. He just released a song yesterday. Okay. So check him out. And then here with the group, with my husband's, the people he works with, call it a group, but his 3, and then all the family here. For sure. Definitely we'll take pictures of them.
Live at the Pentagon.
Right. So that's what I want to say.
Live at the Pentagon, now streaming on my social network. Go ahead. What were you saying?
That's it.
So this is where I'll go with it. You're from Canada originally.
Yes.
Okay.
East Coast in the house.
You're from Canada.
So, let's forget Nas. Let's talk about Wu-Tang.
No doubt. You're from Canada originally, and let's just say that you get a follower on Instagram who wants to do what you've done.
Okay.
In their own lane.
Okay.
What bit of advice are you going to give them to get started?
Well, do it.
Okay.
Don't be scared.
Okay.
But don't be scared to do it. Don't just drop everything you're currently doing. So that's the hard part, because sometimes I want to drop it because I get so inspired and I get in my bubble and I get in front of my Lightroom or Photoshop and I can be there hours and hours. People don't realize that the time that it takes, that's one thing that I want to say, that conversion to, and for a new person that comes into this, is that it's hard to charge. Yeah. It's hard to charge because people want exchanges. People want, we'll just exchange and
no doubt,
give a referral. But as a photographer, it's a lot of work for an exchange of a face.
Yeah.
A one picture that they're going to use. But then you take a photo shoot and they want, let's say, 10, 15 picture edited. It's about an hour per picture.
Yeah.
So it could be like a lot of hours, and then the equipment is not cheap. So you have to find value in what you do. And I'm not saying that I have not done free shoots. I do free shoots all the time because that's just how you network. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you have to find a value in your work. And that's where I'm at too, like, is determining, like, okay, so let's put a value, because nobody expect anybody else to just work for free, and it's kind of like there's a lot of new photographers, and everybody wants, okay, I want to shoot this, especially like the niche that I picked. It's kind of, everybody wants to shoot artists, so like, how do you charge them, right? So that's something that's to be determined. But aside from that, like, if they just get started, get to your basics. Like, I talk about the technical stuff earlier, and I said that I'm not all that technical, but there is a basic of technicals that you do want to focus on before. So you can kind of automatically, like, if I grab this and I'm on manual, I already know what to do, like my aperture, my shutter speed, and those basic stuff is really basic, but you got
to have them.
Well, the thing is, you can take pictures without really knowing, but then that's your pictures are going to look like. So you want to understand the basics, and it didn't take me long. Like, that's the first thing I did. And then the very, very first shoot we did, we drove to the desert in Anza Borrego. It's beautiful if you're in California. So we did that, and I had just got my camera, and that was the first time I was playing with the settings, and my husband's always like, well, read the manual, and he didn't see me reading it. And so he was like, you didn't even read it, or, like, you don't know, and then I was like, wait, like, and I was rolling the thing, like, I'm rolling the thing, I did read it, and then I was like, okay, this is this, click, oh, this is that. Oh, like, so that was like my first shoot, and it's funny because he's still using that picture on his business cards. My first picture.
Oh, wow.
It was so dope.
That's beautiful.
It was my first picture.
That's beautiful. Wow, I mean, you just saying that right there, it really opened up my eyes to what you were saying. I've never heard that aspect of it from all the photographers I've ever talked to.
In what sense?
Like, well, so I would ask my sister, like, how do you get going? Because my sister does photography too, but she doesn't. She does it, and she says, I'll do it, but just I don't really charge for it. Okay. Right, and so I never saw that aspect of that. That networking, sharing. Hey, people. I'll do this photo shoot for you. Do this photo shoot for me, rather. And I'll tell 2 or 3 people about you. Well, my sister leaves it as, I really don't like to charge, but then she really will. She'll take a picture here and there, and then she'll put the camera down, and then she won't come back to camera for a while.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's your time, and the thing is, I've done tons of shoot that I didn't charge. I mean, I've done some recently, and it's my pleasure. I'm not like bitter about that, but it's like, okay, you know, they tag me, the network, you know, there's that exchange, and I was able to practice on them. That's the exchange right there at that point. But at some point, like, I'm getting good enough to where, okay, well, you know, there's a value, because when I go home and at the beginning, you know, I gave unedited pictures as well, because they're like, oh, just send me all the pictures. You know, they get excited and they want like the 200 pictures that you took. But really, in the 200, you maybe have 10, 15. That's actually a big number that are actually good quality pictures. Then you got some that are cool. But then you don't want to edit all of that. Really, when you take a shoot of 1 hour, like, you really want to limit it to like 5 pictures or so.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, each pictures, I'm going to spend about an hour on them, like making them perfect. Not that they're not good enough, but when you shoot, especially with this body of camera, it's a basic Canon. The colors are not like vibrant. So Lightroom and Photoshop will bring that up. So that's an artwork that you do on your computer, and that's your time. And the thing is, I have another business, again, like the insurance. So if I'm out there in the field selling insurance, like, I'm making money with my time. So if I'm going to take away my time from that to edit your picture, you must be real special. No, I'm just kidding. But,
no,
you know,
I mean, that's fact.
Like, you know,
like, it's time to take the gloves off.
Right.
That's fact.
Because I make a lot of money with my other business.
No doubt.
So,
no doubt.
And I'm saying a lot, no millionaire here, but, you know, like, it's a decent income. The thing is, I don't have to go to work. So on a Monday, if I have pictures to edit, I often will be like more excited about editing pictures and selling insurance, right?
Yeah.
So I have done that. Being on my computer on a Monday editing pictures, and if someone in the insurance business see that, that's it. So I've done that on a Monday. I sat on my computer, edited pictures, and pictures that I haven't charged for.
No doubt.
And they were really awesome, and the person was grateful, and, you know, it's fine because it was agreed upon. But I realized, shoot, like, I could have easily made $1,000 today while I'm sitting making these pictures for free.
No doubt.
So there's a value to these pictures. So I started to charge, not a lot, because I still have work to do, but I'm charging for my time.
Okay.
I think it's fair.
That's important. You know, my dad, who's an accountant, told me one time, you know, because a part of my artistry too is I press T-shirts. And so the shirt that I'll give you at the end, I've pressed, and I make that a staple of the podcast. But my dad was like, you're going home to do these shirts. What is your time worth?
Right.
And so when I sat back and I thought about that, I was like, wow, what is my time worth? You know, would it be worth a lot more if I got different equipment to do it? Or is my time worth a lot less now that I'm doing it the way I'm doing it? So,
well, are you asking me or are you telling me?
No, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. So, I mean, when you say, what is your time worth, it really brings back, puts it into perspective.
Yeah.
What you should be doing versus what you're doing.
Right. Well, that's it. And it's a question that I'm still asking myself. And I still do shoots for free, or, you know, I still, because like you said, I still have a basic equipment, but I started investing in certain pieces that are more expensive. So I need to start charging to pay for that equipment.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
but you know what?
It's a business investment, but relationships too is important. So
I think this speaks to a testament of your artistry and your eye, because I wouldn't have picked that up. Yeah, you know, and I'm not going to say you've already put out what type of camera. When I look at your pictures and I saw your case when I pulled up to the spot here, and I was like, when I saw your case, I was like, man, she's finna pull out a Mark something. Because when I used to, when we were talking earlier about my first production company, we did a web series, and I was using a Mark III
right.
in that, right? But your pictures don't look low quality.
But
your pictures look top dog.
I want a Mark 5D. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Actually, I want more than I don't even know what I want. I need to test. But thank you.
Doubt. Yeah,
thank you for saying
your
that.
Your pictures look like literally, your pictures look phenomenal. When I looked at your IG, I was like, okay. Because, you know, you get a couple of likes from people and you're just like, for the first question that pops into your mind is, how did they find out about me? Right.
Right.
And so my whole thing is, I've been on Instagram socializing, networking like you have. Certain artists that I see on Instagram, I'm like, oh man, I got to get you on a podcast. Right. Mm-hmm. And so you'll go and you'll look and you'll associate whether they're going to respond to you or not in the DM against their following, right? How many followers they have. So
Yeah, no. I
yeah,
think
no. I shot you a message and I was grateful that you came through, that you was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? I was grateful for that.
Why not?
And you know what? I'm just be honest. You're right. Why not? You know, but I've been.
You're local, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about the amount of followers. Let me put it this way: a lot of people have a huge amount of followers, but then if you go look at their posts, they don't have the likes that
to support that
combine the followers. That means they purchase these followers, and I'm not. This is no news to most people that are familiar with Instagram. So, like me and you, we don't purchase followers.
Oh, no
our
doubt, for
followers
sure.
Are our followers. So they're smaller, legit account. My followers are my followers.
No doubt.
I think so.
For sure.
If you're not, you can go away. So like,
for sure. Shit.
So, and then you're local. So, in fact, let me tell you the real reason why I said yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, there's nothing fake about it anyway, but
let's take the gloves off. Go ahead.
I mean, well, first of all, I had seen the interview you've done with 3, so
Okay.
I'm familiar with 3.
No doubt.
Because of course my husband was working with him, and they're friends. They know each other for years, but it's not because of that. I didn't even look at the numbers of followers. What I saw is I said, okay, he's local. He's interviewing local artists. What a great way to network with local artists.
No doubt.
Right? That was my go-to. And I was like, yeah, sure, good. So I told him, hey, somebody wants to interview me. And
No
he's
doubt.
like, who's talking to you on Instagram? So, but then it's all good because it's family here.
No doubt. For sure. Shout out to my man Edric, man. I love you, boy. Go ahead. So this is what I want to say, because you've mentioned editing a few times. Okay, take us to the most basic edit. The most basic edit to
Getting me in technical questions.
Well.
And I just said I'm not technical.
Take us to the most basic edit.
Let me put it this way.
Okay.
I told you I paint, right?
Yeah.
So for me, when I edit, when I take a picture, when I said I'm not technical is because when I take a picture, I take a painting. And when I go on my Lightroom or my Photoshop, I'm coloring my painting. That's pretty much it. So the shadows and things are like, you'll probably notice my pictures are dark a lot. I like dark. If you look at my paintings at home, sorry.
All good.
I paint jasmines. That's what I painted. I have not painted in like 3-4 years, really. Shame. It's a shame. But I would paint like jasmines and they're in a dark settings. It's funny. I was painting musicians. Go figure. Anyway, so and they were like I really liked painting the shadows and a lot of black and burgundy and browns and grays and like dark shadows and I really like to play with that. So I'm kind of doing the same thing with my pictures. If you've noticed, there's a lot of dark shadow. I love deep shadows, and so for a lot of people, it's a question of taste. I think a lot of people like to edit their pictures light, like on the bright side. And in fact, like if you look at marketing strategies and stuff like that, like for pictures, let's say for offices, you want a really like very white, very light gray, very green, very bright. That's just not my style of edit. I like something that looks grimy. I like something that looks, like that's why actually the photographer that I've mentioned earlier that does street photography.
You're talking about
88 shots.
88
yeah.
shots, okay.
Why I love him is because of that. And he was doing only black and white for a little while, and it was all dark shots. And he just came out with his color line, and it's all street photography, and he does barbershop photography as well. And wow, he was like, okay, like this is a new thing. He was like, I'm just gonna start with coloring, and he's like, I don't know, I'm editing like a new way because he's been editing black and white for a long time, and I'm just in love with it because it's like dark. It's not. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a lot of shadows, a lot of contrast.
You know, now that you said that, I see that a lot in Greg Noir's photos.
Right, as well.
Because he
And
does
I think-
black and white, and he does it.
And I think the concert photography, like let's talk about that.
Go ahead. Yes.
So, like, if you take a picture that you plan, it's a bit different, which I love, but then you can control it a bit more. But when you take a picture of a show, you can't tell the artist, stop moving, you know? So a lot of blur will come, but blur is not always bad in this type of picture. There's such a thing as a good blur. Okay, there's such a thing of a quality blur, and then he does that perfectly great. And then the black and whites in show photographies are so good because then they demonstrate a lot of the clarity, a lot of the contrast, what you can play with your edit, but it brings it live. I don't know, like, it's, even though it's not in color, I really, like, I took one recently of a guitar player, and it's like, oh, the black and white is like way better. But different shots, different lights too. The lights that they have on stage, like you mentioned, Greg Noir, like his edits, like, I'm sure it depends on the lighting that he's dealing with at the time. I don't know why he chooses his edits, but you know, sometimes you'll have specific lightings that are colorful and they look great, and sometimes it could overexpose. And I think in that case, a black and white could save it, because those lights, they move. It's hard for the person shooting to even control. So now in big shows, the lighting is great, and it's usually perfectly on the face. They prepared that in advance. But if you go to small venues, like I've been doing, those lights, they're out of control. So you kind of like, you get it in your face, you get it over there. It's not the artist is not lit properly, and then I can't bring a strobe with me or anything like that because you're not allowed. So but he's such, I mean, I'm so far from his level, but he's such an inspiration.
No doubt. I mean,
Sure,
when you say
at a young age too.
when
So.
you say you're a creative, and then you said earlier in the conversation that you had a catering business. I was like, okay, I'm dealing with somebody that knows how to, you know, take something to a certain point, and then, you know, when it's you know, peaked out, and you just, hey, you know, I want to get rid of that, and you know.
Well, I tried something. The idea was great, but there's a limitation into the position I was in. There was limitation where I was too. That was in Canada, and certain limitation in government budgets that did limit my business. So I had two choices. I could have converted it to another business or sell it. I sold it, and I did not go under. Okay. I did not go over, but I did not go under. So I had my business for about like 2-3 years, and at some point you just got to make a decision. And I think I've learned a lot from that experience, actually, which is why, like, I don't jump into things too fast. Okay. But that said, you asked me earlier the advice for a young photographer. When I say I don't jump in too fast, I also encounter a lot of people that just don't jump in at all. So, like, you know, there's an in between there. No doubt. You know? Jump in. No doubt. Just don't fall face first.
No doubt.
So.
Wow. So the What's Next podcast is all about bringing creatives out and getting their stories. Most importantly, the last question I'll ask of you is what's next for Julie P. White Photography? What's next for you? Immediately.
Can you see in the stars? I don't know. It's just immediately, you're saying? Well, immediately is just, you know, okay, immediately I am currently working with a life coach, and I'm working on a strict schedule to manage a 48-hour day and a 24-hour day, right? And so that I can effectively touch all aspects. So make sure that I still run my other business, because sometimes when you start a new project, you tend to, I say don't drop everything else. Well, you kind of want to because you're so ready, but I have to just manage to still hold on to the position. I have a lot of technical aspects that I actually want to study, so I have to take the time to do that while I'm doing shoots, while I'm practicing, while I'm developing the website, while I'm networking, and Instagram networking is a full-time job. So, because you do have to interact, because if you don't, you're not doing it. It's not going to happen by itself. And I keep mentioning Instagram. It's not just Instagram, but since I'm new here, I don't know that many people, so it's a good way. Like, I find the venues. I find like I'm just really out there talking to people. And, well, what's next in this is just to develop the concept. And the thing is, afterwards, 2020, you said, like, to me, this is not just going to be Julie with her camera. I have a bigger vision, which I don't want to mention too much about it because I haven't developed it. But I am married to a man in the music industry, and he's not like a little low timer. Like, it's like, is that even a word? But anyway,
that's fine. Like what I found about English is, as long as you understand, it's a word.
I think me and him, we're a team, so we're together, growing, and this is gonna take this and his baby, and I want to take something else to another level, which is why I really want to work on artist promos, because I want to take that to another level as well. So let's just say I'm talking about perhaps investing in something bigger.
No doubt. So here on the What's Next podcast, what I like to do is I like to give this signa of my company to all the creators that come out. This is an exclusive black SVI t-shirt that I give to all the creators that come out.
And I love my tees, so that's great.
And it's just it's a token from my company to you, but most importantly, when I see you wear it, I know that you were on the podcast.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I definitely will rock it.
I appreciate you being on the podcast. Houston, Texas, I do what I do for myself to prove that I can do it for others. Peace and blessings.
Yo, it feel like 95, Sachi on my body, Biggie, Jigger, Puffy, all that ballin' is a hobby. And I'm wildin' in my wallies, them valleys, no Pilates. More wet, get you more wet. Nah, that's these Spumante. My crystal ball, I see crystal, I crystal y'all with that. I saw the sign like Ace of Spades, that Ace of Spades get cracked me like cheers to the money guys, the Willie niggas who buy them bottles and then they spill these liquors. Yo, salute my dude. I see you, dawg. 5 bottles, 1 dick. Why I need 2 bras? I know I'm out of line, but love is shower time. You know it rose rain when your cloud is 9. Get off that high ass hussy. This a private party. Been on my dick too long. Your breath on private party. You gon' be nice and naughty. These walls on priceless Audi. This the upper crust. Fuck is up. Over and done. Overdose. Yes, we did it again. Sippin'